Morning, everyone.
Morning.
That sounds good. Yeah? Everyone can hear me all right?
Yeah, yes.
Awesome. All right. Helena asked me to bring a message last Sunday, and I had one that I wanted to bring, and I was sitting on it for a week, but the Lord suddenly took a left turn last night, and it changed rather radically, and it's really awesome. I'm really happy to bring it to you, but as usual with some of these messages, they're so big that they really make me nervous sometimes. So, as always, whatever it is that I bring, I encourage you to take it to the Lord for confirmation. Please don't take my word for it, but it is my pleasure and my honor to bring this today. Let me begin with a little bit of background. Some of you may have heard this before, but way before Jody and I came to the upper room, we were involved with ministries in and around Clayton, dealing with drug addicts, alcoholics, homeless. You know, we were part of an evangelical church, doing the best we could, dealing with people on the streets, and I was working with hard-working, sincere people that believed in the power of God. And they wanted to see the power of God working in these people's lives. And we'd meet every week. We'd get to know these people. We'd talk to them. We wanted to see them healed. We wanted to see the miracles in their lives. And we knew it was possible. And we knew that God wanted to do it. But we never really saw it that much. And these people kept coming back to us because they also believed in God. They believed He could do it. And they also believed that He wanted to do it. But they didn't see it that much either. Okay? And that mystified me. That really, really mystified me. Because I really believed that we should and could be seeing things that, as we've read about in the book of Acts, right? Why aren't we seeing that? Why do we have honest and sincere believers trying to help people in need and really, you're not really seeing what you're expecting to see? And that's been my heart ever since. That's what I've really wanted. I've been tempted to, at one time I was looking into how big churches are built, mega churches. All right, wrong path entirely. There were some people that were interested in playing church. The popularity and the fame that came with that. That never interested me. All I really wanted, sincerely, was to walk in the presence and the power of God, authentically, and honouring Him all the time in everything that I did. I just wanted what the Word promised, right, and nothing more. But I couldn't see it. And I got to a point eventually. I was going to church. I was serving in my church. I was serving in 2 ministries, and I thought, man, what else do I have to do to see this, to get to that point? So I decided, I know what I need to do. I need to go and do a 4-year master's degree in divinity at the Melbourne School of Theology, right? And then perhaps when I graduate, I will start experiencing the presence of God and start seeing His power, right? That's where I was. And I was ready to pull the pin. I was ready to do it. But I thank the Lord that the rug was pulled out from under me, and that was no longer an option. All right? And it was shortly afterwards that I started coming here, and He started showing me a different path. And this is a roundabout way of getting to my point. The Lord has shown me a different way. All right? There is a different way. There is a path to seeing that presence and power. And we've been circling around it. We've learnt so much about the heart, our hearts. We've learned so much about trust. We've learnt about the trees in the Garden of Eden, the tree of knowledge, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and the tree of life. We've learnt a lot. But I want to come back to the one verse that Des loves sharing at almost every meeting, and that is, and I'm sorry he's not here today, but that's Proverbs 3:5, right? Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. All right? What I realise now is that had I gone to the Melbourne School of Theology and done my degree in divinity, what that would have done is it would have exponentially increased my knowledge and my understanding. And in so doing, it would have encouraged me to lean that way rather than trusting in the Lord. Okay? Not the best way to go. Not a good way to go at all. See, the thing is about Proverbs 3:5, it compares the heart with the mind. Alright? It is very much about our hearts. Our walk with the Lord is very much about our hearts. It is not about our minds. And that's not to dismiss your mind or to say it's not important, but it's just that the heart is what really counts. Okay? If you want, and this is the answer that I was looking for back then, if you want to walk in the power and the presence of God, it's with and through your heart that it happens. Okay? No school can teach you how to trust Him. No school can make your heart trust Him. No amount of teaching can make you trust Him. No amount of church meetings, sermons, books, resources, conferences, you name it, can make you trust Him. Okay? Trusting Him is all about you. It's all about your heart. And it is entirely your choice. And that is the key to walking in the power and the presence of God. If we dig deeper into that verse, Proverbs 3:5, it says, lean not on your own understanding. And when you look at the word lean, it means to rest or to support yourself. And you know that when you lean on something, you can only ever lean in one direction. You can't lean in two directions, right? Not possible. And that's what the verse implies. You can go one way or the other, but you can't go both. You can't trust in the Lord while leaning on your own understanding. Okay? And trusting in Him and leaning on your own understanding, there are two opposite ends of the spectrum. And the question is, where do we find ourselves? Because most of us have knowledge, most of us have learnt a lot, and we rely on that to carry us through. What I realized last night is that when you trust the Lord and you trust in Him with all your heart, you may end up in a place with no understanding whatsoever. Could be a very, very uncomfortable place to be. Alright? Pure trust with zero understanding. Alright? On the flip side, if you're in a place where you are understanding everything that's happening and you are trying to manage your own problems, it's a place of control. You are in control. It's a place where you are confident and you are assured. But is the Lord involved? I don't know. I don't think so. Alright? It's at two opposite ends of the spectrum. You're either trusting the Lord or you're trusting in yourself. Alright? Notice as well that the verse doesn't stop at trust the Lord. It says trust the Lord with all your heart. Okay? And that's because you can trust Him with your mind and your heart. Alright? When you trust Him with your mind, it's because you know that He's good. And you know that He's trustworthy. And you decide that He's good and He's trustworthy. You decide that He's worthy of your trust. That's as far as the mind can go. But He's trying to distinguish it here. He's saying trust Him with your heart. And what does it mean to trust Him with your heart? It means to give Him your heart. It means to open your heart to Him. Okay? He's distinguishing that. Don't trust with your mind. Don't trust with a decision. Trust with your heart. And He takes it a step further. He doesn't say trust with your heart, but He says with all of your heart. And again, we can just dissect this a number of ways. But really, if you want to keep it simple, what it means is to go all in. Not halfway. No half measures. Okay? All in. You trust Him with all of your heart. Alright? So why am I getting into all of this? Because this is what the Lord is teaching me, and I believe challenging me and us to do. To take Proverbs 3:5 and not to apply it when necessary, but to live it as a lifestyle. Alright? Live it as a lifestyle, and I'll tell you why. The thing is, we are in partnership with the Lord. To the degree to which you're aware of that, I'm not sure, but we are all in partnership and called into partnership with Him. Now, in order for this partnership to work, first of all, let me clarify. That partnership is us and Him, right? So He helps us in our lives. He provides for us. He protects us. He looks after us. He teaches us, guides us, protects us. You name all that, right? All of that stuff. But at the same time, we serve Him, right? And we fulfill His will in our lives and everything He wants to do. And that is how the nature of that partnership works. But it's not a partnership that functions on its own. It requires us to trust Him. It requires us to trust Him. Not only to trust Him, but to trust Him with our hearts and to trust Him with all of our hearts. And why is that? Again, this is something we've touched on before. Our hearts are the gateway to Him. Alright? Our hearts are the gateway. So when you trust Him, you open your heart up to Him. You open up a gateway to Him. Your heart becomes a conduit, or a pipe, if you want to call it that, between this world and the kingdom of heaven. Alright? And things can come down that conduit, that pipeline. And that is how we are meant to function. When we trust Him, and we trust Him completely and openly with our heart, and we are connected to Him this way, we are free to receive. Alright? Through an open heart, we receive everything He wants for us and everything He wants to give us. But we are also giving Him access to the people around us and to our environment. Alright? So yes, He can impact our lives and help us, He can heal us, and He can do all sorts of things, but He can also touch the world around us. Alright? And that is the very nature of this partnership. Alright? Now, I'm going to come back to Proverbs 3:5 and tell you why I'm telling you all of this. I believe Proverbs 3:5 in an indirect way refers to the two trees in the garden, the two trees in the, now I'm slipping. The Garden of Eden. Yeah, okay. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. Okay? What he's telling us in Proverbs 3:5 is to trust in the Lord with all your heart. What he's saying is connect to the tree of life. Alright? And feed from the tree of life. Lean not on your own understanding. Don't go to the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Alright? I believe that is a direct comparison between the two trees. And furthermore, what I believe is in this verse is a key that's been hidden in plain sight. And that is this. We know what the tree of life is. It is Yeshua Himself. The key to accessing that tree of life and everything that it has to provide for us is trust. And it's trust with all your heart. When you trust Yeshua with all your heart, you will have access to the tree of life and everything that it has for you. Alright? When you trust Him, you connect to Him, He connects to you. Things can change radically and quickly. But it does require a trust that is deep and it's pure. Okay? Because the enemy is going to try and block that, stop that. He's going to try and contaminate it, bring it down. He's going to try and weaken it. And when I say that from experience, because this is what I've been learning for the past few months. When you connect to Yeshua this way, it is actually a connection. Alright? We talk about trust in this world, and trust in this world is a willy-nilly sort of airy-fairy word. But when you trust Him spiritually, what you're doing is you are connecting to Him. And the moment you are connecting to Him, you're involving Him in everything. Alright? And you're involving Him in everything. You're involving Him in your life, and you're involving Him in everything that you're involved with. Alright? So He's free to step in and help. He's free to come in and to provide. Alright? And that's why this connection, I believe, this has really changed my thinking a lot. This connection to Him, this trust, this deep trust to Him should be the foundation of our walk with Him, the foundation of our Christian life. Because when that conduit is open, when that gateway is open, it leaves Him free to drive everything in our lives, to empower us, to help us, to lead us, to guide us, and to speak to us. Alright? When you live this way with an open heart that's open to Him, leaving Him free to do everything that He wants to do, that, I believe, is when you're going to start seeing miracles. You're going to start seeing the very stuff that I was talking about at the beginning. Miracles, real power to effect real change in people's lives and in your life too. All right? If that gateway is not completely open, or even if it's closed, then what is driving you? What is guiding you? What is directing you? More likely it's going to be us, and it's going to be our understanding. So it's going to be one or the other. Before that door to the tree of life is open, we're going to be feeding off the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So what I want to encourage us to do is to learn to access that tree of life. All right. Now, let me show you what this means, right? What this looks like. So for the better part of my Christian walk, I've always prayed for different things. And you go to different ministries and churches and whatnot, and they'll often say, yeah, this is your problem, this is what you need to pray, and these are the spiritual issues, this is what you need to do. This is different. And I'm not knocking any of that. I'm just saying that this is a different way. How you would do this, if you have something you need healing with, if you have a need of any sort, it doesn't matter what, this is how you go about doing this. You go to the Lord with your need and you trust Him with it. Alright? Now forgive me if this comes out a bit sort of topsy-turvy, it's a bit difficult to explain, but the key here is to trust Him with a pure heart, a pure trust. Now when you sit down and you actually try and trust Him to help you, it doesn't mean you pray anything, you don't actually have to say anything. It's all about your heart. It's all taking place in your heart. Because when you trust Him, your heart speaks to Him. Your heart communicates with Him. Alright? When you trust Him, you sit down and you even begin by thinking, do I trust you, Lord, to help me with this? Do I trust you to heal me with this? And if you listen, you will hear what's going on in your heart. Very often you'll hear a whole lot of noise, right? You'll hear, nah, I don't know. Is he gonna heal me? I'm not sure. Yeah, nah, maybe this, maybe that. Alright? There may be anger there may be fear, there may be questions. Am I doing this properly? Am I doing this correctly? Is this even going to work? And this noise that you hear is all the blockage. This is blockage. This is what prevents you from trusting Him deeply and purely. Alright? And then you get to this point where you think, okay, nothing's going to happen, so you stop. Alright? Now, I know this sounds strange, but I've done this before and I've seen the power of it and I've seen the results firsthand. Okay? The one biggest single testimony I can give you is when my mum had a stroke. Okay? She was completely floored, completely devastated. She couldn't move, she couldn't do anything. But she was released from hospital within 3 days. This is what I did as soon as she had that stroke. Alright? So that is my testimony here. And I've done it a number of times in different ways. And I'm learning. I'm still learning. But the key is to trust the Lord completely to heal her and help her. Right? In this example. So what you're going to do is you sit down and you focus on that trust. You focus on what's in your heart. When you encounter fears, when you encounter doubts, when you encounter unbelief, you cut those off. You destroy them. And you keep cutting them off and you keep destroying them until they don't come back. And it's when you start dealing with these things, it's funny how they work. As you start really seeing how they work, you really start seeing that they are spirits and they're not just emotions. They come to attack. They come to shut you down. They come to bring fear and doubt so that this doesn't happen. They don't want you believing purely. They don't want you trusting completely and openly. Alright? What else do? You immerse yourself in whatever it is that helps you trust God. Alright? Now, again, let's go back to healing. If you want healing, focus and meditate on the scriptures that talk about healing. All right? Focus and meditate and meditate and meditate. If it's worship, if it's prayer, if it's studying the scriptures, if it's speaking in tongues, whatever it is that works for you, do that. And what that's going to do, whatever it is that you do, it feeds your heart. It feeds your heart in a good way. It gives your heart what it needs. All right? And it strengthens your heart to such a point that your heart starts believing. All right? It starts believing. You get your heart to that point where it starts believing so powerfully that doubt is no longer there, fear is no longer there. Eventually you get to a point where you are completely and utterly certain that the Lord's going to heal you. It's like a wall that breaks down, and all of a sudden you stumble on the other side and you're free and clear in this place of complete faith, complete trust. All right? And in this place you are absolutely certain, you know it completely, that the Lord's going to heal you. And you know what happens at that point too? You get filled with joy. Even before anything's happened, you get filled with joy. That's what I experienced, and I thought that was really odd. But then I discovered this verse in Psalm 33:21. For our heart shall rejoice in Him, because we have trusted in His holy name. When you get to that point where you fully trust Him, the heart responds naturally with joy. Okay? And that is the ideal place we want to get to. When you can bring your heart to that place where you just completely and utterly trust Him to help you with something, that's when you witness His real power and His real presence. Okay? And that is what I witnessed. So again, bringing this back to what I was talking about earlier, what I was really looking for when I was working in these ministries, serving in these ministries, was how to help these people. And now I know what it takes to help these people, help myself, help others around us. And that is this, that you become a conduit for these people. You learn to connect to the tree of life, to tap into the resources and the power and the presence of God. And then you release that to the world around you, to the people around you. Okay? For me, I'm slowly starting to back off prayer. And again, I'm not knocking back prayer. Prayer is good. I'm not going to put that down. I guess what I'm trying to say is this. When there's something I need, or there's something big that needs to be done, I'm learning how to engage with the tree of life, to have that need met, have that prayer answered. And it's starting to take shape, and it's becoming more and more powerful. But it's slightly more work than the prayer. Right? And again, I'm not knocking prayer. It takes work, because what's involved is shaping your heart. All right? When you want to connect to the tree of life, you've got to confront what's in your heart. And very often you're going to find things in there like bitterness, you're going to find hardness, you're going to find anger, you're going to find all sorts of stuff. And that all has to be confronted. All right? So that you can bring your heart to a place where you can connect to the tree of life and you can receive what it is you're looking for. All right? Now, this does take a bit of practice. I'd try it if you can. If I would suggest first take this to the Lord and ask Him to confirm that this is true. All right? It's a chunky thing to have to deal with, to have to absorb. But take this to the Lord and see what He says. All right? I'm going to finish up with this though, and that is this is a compilation of everything the Lord has said in the book of Psalms, just the book of Psalms, about those who trust Him. All right? And this is this. If you trust Him, you are blessed. You will shout for joy because you are defended. You will be saved and delivered. You will not be forsaken or ashamed. Your enemies will not triumph over you. You will not slip, you will not be condemned, and you will be helped. If you trust him, the Lord will be your rock, your fortress, your deliverer, your strength, your shield and the horn of your salvation, your stronghold and your refuge. You will be saved from the wicked, and you will not be afraid of evil tidings, because your heart will be steadfast. If you trust him, he will delight in you. Mercy shall surround you. His goodness will be laid out for you, and your heart shall rejoice. You will be like a green olive tree in the house of God. You will be like Mount Zion, which cannot be moved, but abides forever. And he will cause you to hear his loving kindness in the morning. All right? All of that simply for trusting him. The power of trust, I'm still learning, is immense. And it's still something I'm coming to terms with. And guys, we need to explore this. We really do. It opens so many doors, and I believe it opens the door to the tree of life. So what's beyond that is for you to find out. I'm going to leave that as your homework. All right? That's it. Thank you, Helena.